Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Daquon Wilson.
And I'm Quaviondre Williams, and this is the Melanin Margin, the show where we are bringing the marginalized to the spotlight and uplifting Black voices that will no longer be silent, baby. So today we are talking about Black hair and our experiences with it and the professionalism of it. So let's go ahead and get into this. So, Daquan, what is your experiences with Black hair?
Ooh, hair has been a journey for me. Um, there has been like a long journey with me, like, and how I see myself with my hair and like what I want to do with my hair and things like that. I think like the biggest thing that for me was like being so young and like being told that like, oh, your hair is too crazy, like you got to control your hair, you
Yeah.
got to do this, you got to do that. So like for the first, I don't know how many years of my life, like the only haircut that was acceptable for me and like for my parents and like my family and like how people viewed me was like when I had short hair, just like the buzz cut, all of that stuff. Like me growing out my hair, that was unprofessional, that was like not cute, like you look like a wild child,
Mm-hmm.
everything like that. And so I think it really definitely impacted me while I was younger in terms of how I see myself and how I present blackness in a way.
Yeah, for me, hair has been a journey for me as well. It's been a hard one, and from the beginning, I've always been trying to change my hair because I didn't like the way it worked. I had a mohawk. I've had a low cut, low fade. I tried waves for a very brief second in time, and I had this really bad experience with hair. For me personally, I did this thing where I had did a texturizer. Now I'm not sitting here saying that people who do texturizers are not liking their hair or whatever the case may be, but what I'm saying is that for me personally, when I used a texturizer, when I used it, it was because I was trying to fit in with the crowd. So I always wanted that kind of tight two kind of coily kind of hair, the curly, like really, really curly, but like, full or whatever kind of hair. So I got a texturizer and I basically straightened my hair because I got extra strength because a bitch thought she knew what she was doing. But my dumb ass, I was like, Mama, this is the right one. She's like, okay, my mom's a cosmetologist, right? But the fact is, I didn't tell her which texturizer I got. So when she put it in my hair, it made that shit bone straight. Like, and I had got it cut into like an afro, whatever the case. I got it cut into another mohawk again, and it was just a straight hair that I was just like, oh yes, I got the long swoop curl. Like I can do the little thing, I can do this or whatever. And for like a brief second in time, I really enjoyed it. It was like for about a couple months, and then I realized when I was sitting under getting putting the process back in my hair again to get it straight again, I was wondering to myself, I was like, why am I doing this? I was like, what is it? Is this really worth all of this that I'm doing? Like, what's the problem? And I realized that it was comments that I had gotten from people within our community about my hair because my natural hair texture is very tightly coiled. So
Mm-hmm.
it's afro textured hair. So when I was growing my hair out like I was before, I would get a lot of comments about going, "Oh, your hair grows weird," or "It's this and that and the fourth," and all kind of just really negative comments. And I just internalized all of that hate, that self hate, and I was like, "I'm just gonna make it straight, and that's gonna be great." And
Right.
then when I decided to cut it all off again for a second time, just cut it all off again, I was like, I've always wanted long hair, but I've always assumed that long hair meant like long straight hair. And that was a big problem. And I realized that, like, because for a long time, I've always thought that dreads were beautiful and I've always wanted dreads, but I was afraid because of what I think other people would perceive me as. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, definitely.
When I first got them done, I took them out because I was like, no, I can't because that's not this, it's not that. And I got my mom to put them back in because my sister has them now. My mom and my sister have them, and I was the last one to get them here. And honestly and truly, like I didn't realize I was how much I was hating on that particular hairstyle internally until I really sat down and was like, what am I doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, what am I really doing right here?
Yeah.
Like, I'm avoiding the thing that I know is going to be best for my hair type, best for my hair texture, and best for the health of my hair because my normal afro textured hair, I have to put a lot of conditioner in it to get it to fucking do something. So versus having dreads, we could just kind of put them in, leave them alone, wash your hair every 2 weeks, and pop off. But like, I just did not want that because I consistently believed that it was unprofessional, it was ugly, it was not cute, it was this and the fourth, and it was all because of stuff I've seen on television and in my life. For you, I know you got dreads too, and I don't remember you having them when we were in high school together. So what made you decide to get dreads?
It was just one of those things that it kind of naturally happened. So like my dreads are free form, so I didn't
Uh-huh.
really lock them up on purpose or like went to somebody to go get it styled. Like, it just
Yeah.
happened. But I definitely think that like me growing out my hair was a part of me kind of almost rebelling against the idea that black hair is professional. I mean, unprofessional. And just like me kind of starting this journey of loving my hair and what it does.
Yeah.
Um, so like I'd say like the biggest point was like when I went off to college because I'm away from like anybody else. There's nobody to be like, hey, you need to get a haircut.
Yeah.
Like I'm living on my own, like in my own space. So I have control of my hair, which didn't really have that much when I was younger. So that's when my journey started. And of course, like it's a lot longer now than it was like when it first started. But I think I've definitely been able to like love how my hair looks and like
Yeah.
love being able to like do things with it and like figure out what I like and what I want to see.
Was it difficult for you to start them, especially with the journey, like in your career path? Like, was it difficult for you to be like, well, like, did you ever have that moment that, like, for me, where I was like, oh, is this the best move, or like, should I do
Mm,
this? Like, you know what I mean? Because for me, when I started my job, I went to a job interview, and I was like, Mom, I can't start my locks just yet because I don't know if I have the job. You know what I'm saying? And it was the first thing I thought of, and I was like, wow, like, as black people, that's the first thing we have to think about and stuff like that. Like, we can't just have our hair like we want to have it because we think, oh, wait a minute, what this person will think. So that's why I'm asking you, like, do you think, have you ever encountered a moment where you were like, what are they gonna think, or should I do something different, or something like that in your experience?
yeah, definitely. I think that there's been times when I've like kind of manipulate how my hair looks because of the idea of like interviewing for jobs and stuff like that. So like maybe I'll have it up so like you don't see all of my dreads. Um, but I think that for me at least, I wear my dreads wherever. Like I didn't necessarily have that same hesitation just because I'm coming at it at the perspective of like if they don't hire me because of how my hair looks, even if I did change my hair to like fit their standard, like
Yeah,
what's going to be that next microaggression? Like what's going to be
yeah.
next in line? Because if hair is a no go for you, who knows what else could be.
And that's what I, cause like for me, like I said, that just was something that was just ingrained in me about, like I said, hair types and hair textures and stuff like that. And I wanted to know where you think that comes from, like that instinct of like, ooh, should I do this, or ooh, should I do? Because for you, because of your particular growth and experiences, you thought, like you said, you went at a different angle. But for me, because of my particular experiences in my life and what I've seen, it was like it was a hesitation there. And even you said that for you it was a sort of hesitation, not much of one, but it was still there. Where do you think that stems from?
I think it really stems from like this internalized hate in our community for hair. Like I remember going to a business camp when I was in high school, and we were talking with this professional about, appearance, attire, all of that stuff. And I remember her, she was a black woman. I remember her talking about black hair in a way of calling it unprofessional. And she's being like, yeah, if you're a guy, like cut your hair, get like maybe a fade if you want it to be fancy, a fade or,
Mm-hmm.
a very low haircut.
Uh-huh.
So it was just one of those experiences when then I noticed this is something that's like we've all kind of internalized because we've
Yeah.
all had that sort of notion that black hair is unprofessional. So if we want to be able to like, move up in the world and progress or whatever, make it out of wherever we're coming from, we have to fit these sort of norms. But I came to like my mindset of thinking like, well, if we do this to kind of fit these norms, we're then perpetuating these norms and are
Yes.
saying that it's all right. Um, And I think that we've made some progress as a society, not a whole lot,
Yeah,
like that
very
much. But
minuscule.
like I think now you see more like black hair and like magazines on TV shows. Like I remember watching How to Get Away with Murder, and there's
Oh,
like this, like it was like the first episode you see Viola Davis taking off that wig,
yes.
and that is something you would have never saw on TV.
That
Never.
scene to this day makes me emotional seeing stuff like that because growing up as a kid, you don't realize how deeply white supremacy and whitewashed history and white television affects the way you view yourself. And like when I saw Viola Davis take off that wig, a dark skinned black woman showing her hair, my hair, stuff hair that looks like mine on television, taking it off and like being like, this is me, this is who I am. The final season, she did the same thing. She went for her final grand jury thing. She had her natural hair out, and it was like seeing that. All I could think to myself was, if she can do it, you know what I mean? Like if she can do it,
Mm-hmm.
if she can as a darker skinned black woman, if she can go on that on a television show, a professional environment, having her natural hair out, showing who she really is as a black woman, and not being ashamed of it, having to wear weaves. Now, don't get me wrong, not saying that there's any problem with wearing weaves or anything like that, because whatever the fuck you want to do with your head is your head. But the fact of seeing her being so proud and standing in that, because originally in the plot, that was not in there. She said that. She said, "I want to take off my wig because, baby, like black people don't go to, like black girls or people in general don't go to bed with wigs on. Like that's not how that works."
Right.
And she had requested that, and I don't think she. I think she knew the impact she had because, like I said, it makes me emotional because I'm like, I see somebody on the screen with hair like mine, and it makes me feel represented.
Mm-hmm.
In a way that gave me that strength to be able to say, you know what, I'm gonna do what the fuck I want to do with my hair because it's mine. But once again, had I not seen that, had I not seen those experiences, those people in those professional environments, in those going to Emmys, wearing their natural hair out, maybe I would not have had that same confidence to go out on my own and to be like, you know what, fuck what everybody says, I'm gonna get my dreads. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's my whole thing. Like honestly, I think that people people don't understand how effective representation is in effect to the black community. But what I have noticed is that the black community is very almost in a way toxic in when it comes to that term good hair. Have you heard that?
Mm.
Have you noticed that as well?
Yeah, I was just scrolling through Instagram the other day, and I remember seeing like it was like a Twitter thread of like a woman talking about, "Oh, I'm so glad my baby has good hair."
I saw
And I'm
that. I
like,
saw that.
first of all, like hair texture changes so much. Like your baby is
Baby.
so young that like she may not have that what you call good hair. And like why are we promoting that? Like why are we saying, "Oh, this is the only type of acceptable hair. This is the only good hair." And like you know, like putting down other people, putting down other types of hair in our community. Like why are we doing that? Like what it
And the scariest part about it is that it also promotes the idea of colorism too, which we'll get into
Mhm.
another episode. But the point is, we'll see that a lot of it'll be mostly because that easier to comb or easier to manageable hair. That's the good hair. Especially if you look back in the early '90s, late like mid 2000s, where like relaxers were like baby, like every 2 weeks, every month you would see somebody. You see a little sister or someone else getting their relaxer done, like because it was just not a it was just not the norm to have your natural hair out like that. Like you said before, just recently got into celebrating hair like dreads because most time dreads are associated with people who smoke weed or people who are dirty or whatever the case may be, or afros would be like seen as dirty and stuff like that in the case may be, and like we would have those associations there. So even like it happened just recently that hair is starting to be respected in a way, and very like you said, very small, like very minutely respected. Because like I said before, when we had looked, I looked it up, and apparently New York City had to have a law passed for black people to wear their hair as it naturally grows out of their head. Now that shook my entire spirit because I'm like, are you serious? We have to have a law that says that's not okay to sit there and say, hey, the way your hair grows is okay. Like,
Because we see it so many times having like people getting kicked out of school because their hair is called unprofessional, people getting fired because it's either you change your hair or you can't work here. So it happens so often that we have to have some anti-discrimination law against black hair.
and that's sad. That to me is sad because it's kind of like it should be a given. And this goes back to what we said in the last episode about racism within the white community too. The fact that we have to like when because what I've noticed too is that a lot of the times when white people have dreads, when white people have cornrows, when white people have box braids and all these other stuff like that, and all these styles that are traditionally African styles, it's just hair. But when black people have those exact same hairstyles, oh baby, that's not it, or that's not professional, or this is not gonna work, or blah 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 blah. And it's like it's all this, oh, she's being ghetto, and it's this, and I'm like, it's just mighty funny how the exact same hair or the exact same hairstyle can be seen vastly different when it's white people wearing
Right. Like we don't talk about the history of, people using braids as a way to map out plantations
it.
and routes
Yes.
to get out. We don't talk about the history of people putting rice into their braids so that they have food when they're, going places. Like we don't talk about that history. But of course, it's like, oh, it's not like that important. It's just hair. And I'm like, hair has history. Like
Hair,
all of these
thank
styles
you.
have history. And by just like kind of downplaying it as being just hair or being unprofessional or being not good to look at, like we are then trying to erase all of that history.
And that's the biggest problem that I have seen in our, like I said, in our community is that like when we see when people are always constantly talking about like how beautiful, because I mean if you look on YouTube even like and you see like these a lot of these beauty bloggers and so forth, especially like most of the time you will see people with this type 2 type 3 kind of curly hair texture, and it's always like, let me show you how to make sure your hair is moisturized, let me show you how to make this and then forth, what the case may be, or let me show you how to make your hair look like this. And they sell this brand. There was this quote that I saw on have you ever seen Self-Made on
Yeah.
Netflix? Aside from the vast leniency they took with that story, one of the most like the quotes that really stuck out to me was made by the other counter person. I forgot what her name was, but she said, "Girls will pay money to have hair to look like mine, even though they will never have that kind of hair." And I was like, shit. Like, at first, like, oh God, like, well, that was
Oof.
some savage ass shit. But when she said it, it clicked in my head when I would see a lot of these YouTube bloggers who are or like these conditioners or hair products that are all like, if you do this, you can look like this. Or if you do that, you look like, it's not about keeping your hair healthy. It's not about keeping your hair moisturized. It's about always having to braid it this certain way to make sure that if the curls sit this way or this and the fourth. And it's kind of like, again, if that's what you want to do it for you. But the fact that these people are consistently promoting this type 2, type 3 hair and saying, and then always trying to go against type 4 hair, it just, you know what I'm saying? It baffles me because I'm like, this is what we show in our own community. This is the
Right.
hair that we're promoting. We don't see many of us celebrating Afro textured hair. And even when Viola Davis did do that thing on How to Get Away with Murder, I'm pretty sure there were plenty of people, plenty of black people like, oh girl, what is she doing? Oh girl, she need a wig, or she that sewing back. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just crazy to me that that is the reality that we live in today. That this is even after all these years of fighting for equality and fighting for being treated fairly, we're still perpetuating this toxicity in our community.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like it
Or,
took us so long before.
I want to add one more thing. I'm going to ask you this question. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted
You
to ask
good?
you: do you think that it is our fault that we're perpetuating it?
No, like that was what actually I was going to talk about. Like I don't think that it's our fault per se that we're perpetuating it because for so long we were told that our hair is bad, we need to do this, we need to do that, and that has been something that's been ingrained in us, since we were young children. um so I think that, like, sure, there have been some people that were able to like move past that and move
Mm-hmm.
on, but at the end of the day we can't just like go and villainize everyone because of they were taught that, they were told that their hair was ugly or not professional. So sometimes we have to like really think about each other's personal journeys and how we go through things. Not saying that we should just like let them go off scotch free, like, of course, like educate, try to promote change and try to
Yeah.
promote being able to like love yourself and love the hair that you were given and born with.
I'm not. I want to clarify. I'm not trying to say that I'm not trying to villainize our community in that
Yeah.
situation. I'm not trying to say that. But I guess my thing is, why is it that we seem to? Because even in this new generation, even in this new generation, where those same ideals are still being pushed onto our youth, if that makes any sense. And I think that for me personally, what I've noticed in my college career and my high school career is because I mean when I was younger, I had that same ideal set or whatever the case may be, but I broke out of it when I noticed how much of an effect it had on me and on other people. Because once again, if you're raised in that kind of environment, you're raised in that kind of ideology, you're bound to perpetuate those same ideals or whatever.
Right.
But my thing is, at what point is it at what point are we as a community going to sit down and say, okay, this is not okay anymore, and we're not going to consistently do this? Because I've had to notice that when I've gone up, like I said, when I'm in college or whatever, I have heard people say those same toxic things, and I'm like, hey guys, that's no, that's not good hair. Good hair is clean, healthy hair. You know what I'm saying? And having to consistently say that over and over again, it's kind of like, I don't want to sit there and act like I'm preaching to anyone. So I'm saying, how do you think that we can move about communicating and trying to create trying to create a better environment for people growing up? You know what I'm saying? How do you think that we can um do that without being like we're above that? Because like I said before, I know that I practiced those same ideals when I was younger, but I had to grow out of it, and that was because of just self research and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it honestly starts with like that dialogue, like having healthy dialogue about these things. Because like even going back to like the Twitter thread we were talking about earlier, like I also noticed in the comments people were calling it out and people were
Yes.
discussing
Yes.
like why this is problematic and why we need to move past this. Um, so I think that like it's not that we are that separated from a time when like we were like calling all of our hair bad, because
Yeah.
like my dad, for example, was integrating schools. And so it's not that we're that far from generations that had to constantly be told that you need to
Yeah.
assimilate yourself to be in our
Yes.
society. But we do need to have these conversations and
Okay.
continuously
Mm-hmm.
have these conversations and be willing to call people out and be like, hey, no, that's not okay. We need to stop this narrative right here and here.
I guess for me it's just like that idea of like, um when we sit there and when we have these conversations, we open these dialogues and such, I've noticed that there's a lot of pushback about it, especially from, and like I said, within our community. And I mean, being someone who is, like I said before, has experienced it firsthand, the effect it had on me, like I said, with that particular experience, when I had my afro and I was growing it out, the people who were giving me the most flack about it were people within my own community, like other black people. Most of my white friends or the people I was, cool with, or the case may be, never said anything about it, and would always be like, oh, that's so cool, or the case may be. But like within my own community, I felt almost torn down. And I guess that's where that kind of anger and passion comes from me when I was talking about it, because I want to be very clear. I'm not blaming the Black community for the problem. But what I am saying is that this problem is still, my thing is, it's kind of like when we tell white people, if you want to know about racism, look it up, research why it's bad, or research why it's, you know what I'm saying? The same thing I feel applies to us as well. Like, we have to educate ourselves on certain things that are problematic within our own community. It's the only way we're going to make progress within it. To stop doing it, like I said, like we talked about before with that whole Twitter thread, seeing people actually going, "No, hold a fucking minute, hold on just a motherfucking minute," like, you know what I'm saying, like saying like that's not okay. But my thing is, who in, like, my thing is, when she made that poster, when people talk about stuff like that, you know, with the whole, going back to the whole people, like people who look like us telling us about the problems that we have going on, and people who are like Black people, like white people telling white people and Black people telling Black people, like, do you think that it is a white person's place to tell it, to check other Black people about that kind of stuff too?
I don't think so. Like,
Like,
I
you know
don't
what I
see
mean? Like,
why.
that's what people get offended. Like, white people get offended about Black issues. And it's kind of like, is that even like, do you think that would apply? Could a white person check a Black person about saying something about somebody's hair?
I feel like, at a certain point, there can be that kind of claim that like the white person can like encourage somebody to like be like, oh no, your hair is not bad. Like, I think your hair is beautiful, stuff like that. But I think that like a part of this problem is how internalized it is in us.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be like an external factor that's going to change that. Like, the change has to come within.
So you're saying that there isn't a way for us to like, even if we do check someone about it, they would still have to look within themselves to figure that out, right?
Right. Like, they have to be able to like really
I
go
think
in
that's
and
the problem.
understand well, how did they get to this point? Like, why are they thinking about hair in this way? What are those conditions that socialize them in this way? And really be able to reflect upon that and want that change for themselves.
Okay, that's the reason why I brought the white people, like white people check in and white people asking that, because I wanted to, we back to the whole professional environment situation. We know that a lot of white people are in charge of a lot of environments, as far as like work environments. Unfortunately, that's the way it works because they are the majority and shit like that. That's a whole other situation. That's the whole other That's that whole thing we talked about last episode. But my thing is, do you think that there is a certain belief, even if it's not necessarily uh, intentional, but do you think that there is a level of disrespect in the white community, as when it comes to Black people hair, a Black person's hair, when it comes to like them asking them, can I touch your hair, can I hold you, can I see it, like almost like I said before, like almost like we're like animals in a zoo to be petted?
Yeah, I think that there's a mix of both. There's some fascination with it, but there's also some like fetishization of it as
Fetishization,
well.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that like, you know, like some of the comments come from a good place of being like, oh, well, like your hair is so different. Like, I've never
Yeah.
seen it before. Um, but, we also recognize what microaggressions are. And we've
Yeah.
been talking about microaggressions, and it kind of goes back to what we were saying like last episode of like, you can Google these things and figure out why there is such a problem with it. Um, but I think like the biggest problem is there is no, there are times when there is no boundary. You get what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
they can just like go and grab it and like think that's okay. And it's like, no, first of all, ask first. Like, I probably won't say yes, but like still ask.
The answer's probably going to be no, but
Exactly. But like, there's no kind of, like, that for me is disrespect because you didn't even take the time to ask me.
yeah, and that's, like I said, the whole thing of like white people being a lot of in charge of a lot of these certain environments. Do you think that when do you think that, because like I said, when I talked to you about me going to my interview or whatever, and like I said, I wanted to wait to get my dreads then. Like I said, the reason why I brought the whole white people thing, the white thing up, is Do you think that that is something that they think about when they hire people? Like, cause you said for yourself, you were like, you know what, I'm gonna do what the fuck I'm gonna do. Fuck these bitches. Like, I'm gonna be me, which is like, go off, bitch, pop off. But do you think that that's something that goes through a white person's brain, regardless, like even instinctual wise, like we said last episode about those microaggressions and those internalized things that they have going on too? Do you think that when they are hiring people of color, do you think that hair becomes a factor into why they hire them and why they don't hire them?
Oh, 100%. I think there are times when that is a factor, because we are all socialized to it, not just Black people. White people are
Mm-hmm.
also socialized to see Black hair in a certain way. Like, you can do a Google search and be like professional hairstyles, and I can promise you that most of them are going to be white hairstyles. You won't see too many Black hairstyles. But if you search unprofessional hairstyles, you will see that. Like, there's algorithmic proof of that. So 100%, like, white people are socialized just like Black people. So that can definitely be a consideration that they put. Is all white people doing it? Maybe not. Maybe there are those people that like actually went through the same journey that Black people has, in terms of recognizing like
Yeah.
how have I been socialized and how can I consciously counteract that, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I do. Do you think there are black people who are who hire based off of that too? Because you remember that Raven Simone situation
Yes.
back in the day when she was like, oh, um, like what did she say? What was that? What is that? Because she, I don't think she's talking about hair, but she was like, oh, if your name is Watermelon Dre, I'm not gonna hire you. Kind of situation, the case may be. Do
Right.
you think that there's a certain level of internalized hate that comes that also is translated to hair as well? It was like as a black person hiring another black person, oh, he got dreads. I don't know if he like, oh god, oh, she got an afro. I don't know if she gonna be you know.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's 100%, because like we see everything as like a signification of a person. We are trained to like recognize certain things and then connect that with other things in our brain. So like we'll see dreads and be like, okay, it'll connect to like Rastafari culture or like
Yeah,
smoking weed or something like that. And we are just like inherently doing these things without even trying to. So I think that like regardless of who you are or how you were raised, quote unquote, like we do that naturally. But the key
okay,
here is like being able to recognize that, understand that, and be like, hey, like I understand that this may be my first thought, but like I am not going to go off of that because I know that this comes from like a problematic socialization.
I got you. So what do you think in an environment, in a professional environment, what do you consider professional hair? If that's even a thing. If that's even a thing, what would you consider
Professional hair is clean hair.
it?
It's hair that you take care of. Like, if you are washing your hair and you feel that you are doing your due diligence of making sure that your hair looks all right, that's professional hair.
And that's for me too. I've always said that when I looked at people's hairstyles, and there have been some hairstyles I'm like, I don't know what the fuck that is. I don't know what the fuck you got going on. But you know what, bitch? Go off. It's not. I feel like professional hair is like you said before, healthy, clean hair, and hair that is not impairing your job in any way. Like that to me is the consideration of professional hair. If your hair is
Mm-hmm.
all the way fucking down your back and you work at a secretary office, that's not impairing your work. But if you are at a factory and your hair is just out and it should be up or it should be in a thing, that is a
That's a
danger to
problem.
yourself, and that is a danger to the people around you because you could get somebody hurt. You know what I'm saying? Or like if your hair gets caught in something or something like that, or people in the fast food restaurant or in restaurants or whatever, if your hair, as long as you can cover it or at least make it so that it doesn't interfere with your environment, that to me is what I would consider professional hair. But like you said before, when you look at, if you go to Google and you look up what professional hair is and what unprofessional hair is, a lot of that is that racial connotation of like if it's long, straight, cut, bob, this and the fourth, that is professional hair. And that just, I don't know, it's always struck me as odd because like even as a kid, like I'd be like, I don't understand what's going on with this hair, But that's not my business, you know. And I think that when it comes to hair, people just mind their fucking business. Things will go a lot simpler. Like my thing is, Daquon, if someone's hair is bright green and straight up, whatever you want to call it, and she or him is still able to like do their job, get their stuff done, whatever the case may be, why is that a
Why
problem?
is it a problem? It doesn't grow out of your head. Like my hair grows out of my head, therefore it's my business. I do what I want with. Like your hair grows out of your head. Like you do whatever you want with it. It's not my hair.
It's not my hair, and that's what I just could not. And I would see people like going out of their way to tell someone that this is not like whatever the case is. Like especially for your freeform dreads. Have you ever had someone with spindle or coil dreads go like, oh, why are you doing it like that?
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Like,
It's crazy because like at the end of the day, like what are you going like are you going to undo my hair for me? Like are you going to change my hair? Like
hey, man, you gonna pay these bills to get this hair done? Okay, that's what I thought.
right, do you have like a magic wand be like poof and
Ooh,
change
there
that?
it is. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of people, I would notice a lot of times, especially like people who do it like black hair. I don't know who said this, but they said like black hair is like almost like a political statement, especially like early '70s, especially like afros. Like it was a statement. If you had an afro, if you had dreads, like it was a statement. It was something that, and that's what I wanted to ask you about too, because somewhere in the early '90s, 2000s, or I think maybe even '80s, black hair went from being something that was celebrated within our community to being something that was repressed, if that makes any sense. And I wanted to ask you, why do you think that happened? Because the '70s, or if you look at the '70s, having a big ass afro was like, bitch, you it. Like, it was like, girl, go off. Or if you had like really, coiled hair, be like, oh, that's cute, that's popping, girl, pop off. Like, celebrate your inner blackness. But somewhere in that '90s, 2000s region, when that Just For Me relaxer came out and stuff like that, it went from being like, oh, this is lit to, oh, maybe you should fix it. Maybe you should tame it. Where do you think that came from?
Ooh, girl, you trying to test my degree.
Trying to get the African American Studies degree, get some.
Right. Um, I don't know. Like I can't give you an answer right now. I have
You
to
feel
really
me?
think about that. But I think that there is a lot to using hair as a sort of form of resistance and
Yeah.
kind of going off the top of my head, like what I'm thinking is probably like seeing who is like up there, who are like some of the key figures, because I know like when you have your hair in the afro, like there was so many key figures, like writers, all
Okay.
types of activists that were doing it and like empowering people to do that. So like my first assumption, without like trying to go through all of like my AFAM textbooks, would probably be like it probably became popular because they saw like an actor doing it or somebody like that who
Okay.
is in a like higher position or higher standard, and then they became like that image to try to ascribe yourself to. So you're just
Okay.
like, okay, I need to dress like them, I need to have the same hair as them. Like if I want to get from my position to their position, I need to assimilate to their status.
So you think it's about the socialization thing?
Yeah,
Like the fact is, like back in the '70s, we were socialized to think that if we were celebrating blackness, we had to celebrate it this way, and that was the way to do it. Whereas the '90s, we see a lot of our black celebrities with that long, straight, relaxed hair, and it became the norm then. So you think it's
probably.
mostly about mostly about just how people are shown on television and the representation thing again.
Yeah,
And that harkens back to what we talked about earlier about representation, about Viola Davis, like that, like the fact that once again, Afro has to be another political statement because we have to once again showcase that all black hair is beautiful. Because, like you said, like that the socialization somewhere along the line, we forgot that afros and dreads and cornrows and braids and whatever the case may be are all still beautiful, valid forms of expression. But in along the way, it got lost in the sauce. And I do like to see that we have this new resurgence within the natural hair community, especially. where people are starting to celebrate all forms of hair. That's what I have. I will say that much. You know, we have been doing a little bit, like you said, a little bit better. We're inching our way there. We're inching our way there slowly, but I have noticed, like you said, like we were talking about earlier, like in things like when we see YouTube and in TV shows and in movies now, we're seeing that it's more commonplace versus being such a taboo.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say that we kind of lost our direction or like lost our way in how we think about our hair. Like that could be part of it, but I also think that in general, style is like a revolving thing. Like things will go out of style and then come right back in style. So like
Oh,
there's part of it that's just like the style changed.
but see, and I have to disagree with you on that one because I'm like, white hair never goes out of style. Like long blonde straight hair never went out of style. Long a straight short hair never went out of style. But it's like black hair seems to have this fluctuating scale of like I said, 70s it's great, it's cool, it's whatever. 90s, 80s, oh well, we want to go back to doing this right here. Now we're back in this again. So what I don't appreciate is the fact that, like I said, there's always this there's not a consistency.
Hmm.
It's like if it was like that with white hair, I would fully agree with you on that. But like when I see white hair, when we look back in the early like Marilyn Monroe, you know what I'm saying, and like all these other icons in white cinema in history, like curly, that to be or long straight blonde hair, black hair, short hair, that was the style. But and that was fine. But black hair, like I said, we keep going through this whole this is cute now and this is cute here, but now it's not cute anymore. Or even the natural hair community, when we see that black girls be saying, "Oh, natural. If you got weaves and you got relaxers, that's dead. That's stupid." It's kind of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's always that. It goes from being like you should have like natural hair, you should celebrate your blackness, to oh now you shouldn't celebrate this, or you should celebrate that. You see what I'm saying? So I don't like that fluctuation that we have there.
Oh yeah, I'm not trying to say at all like none of it is dealing with like
But
how we
you think it's
perceive it.
levels to
But I
it.
think that there are levels to it.
Okay, I feel you.
In terms of like I think even with how we present more natural styles, like there are certain ways to present natural styles that kind of go
Okay,
in
I
and
see
out of
what you mean.
style.
I see what you mean. So you're saying like it's not. You're saying that basically levels to it. Like it's not just that one thing.
Right, because you would see some famous person do it, and then everybody does it, and then they change their hair, and then everybody kind of follows the trend.
Okay, I feel you. I feel you. Yeah, I don't. I think honestly and truly, when it just comes to this whole conversation, when it comes to hair and professionalism, I think that people just need to respect people's culture and people's heritage, and like you said before, take that second to educate yourself. Because what I've noticed is that we all hold those beliefs to a certain extent. Even me, even though I'm very passionate in this conversation, and I've said some things in here about how I feel, I still hold those beliefs in some degree. Maybe not as massively as I did when I was a kid, but unfortunately, because of my socialization, because of the way I was raised, because of the community that I was raised in, when I see someone with free-form dreads like yourself, my first thought might be something that's not correct or politically whatever. And I have to check myself. Even when I look at myself when I first got my dreads, I was like, oh girl, I want people gonna say this about me, people gonna say that, people gonna do this, and I was like, oh fuck, what am I doing? Like it was that freak out moment, and then I had to sit down and be like, okay, bitch, it ain't nobody's business. Just like your hair is none of my business. You see what I'm saying? And that's
Right.
how I had to consistently. I think we're always in the cycle of checking ourselves as we go throughout life. No one's perfect. No, everybody's gonna make mistakes, and even though you're not saying you have a problem with someone's hair, you do have that thought in your head.
Yeah, or you have a look,
Or
because
look,
that's the
yes.
thing. Like, I may not get a lot of comments, but I get looks, and
Yeah,
those honestly mean more than a comment.
it speaks volumes. It just the look you can. It's body language. It's body language, how people respond to you. And like I said before, I'm not sitting here saying that I'm perfect. I've had to definitely check myself and check my thought process, because it's just something you can't help, because we're raised in that, like you said, socialized in that environment. So I think that when it, like I said, just to kind of, round off this conversation or whatever, when it comes to black hair, when it comes to hair in general, respect is all people are looking for. You may not like it. You may not understand why someone does it this way or why their hair looks like this way. There was a guy at my school who shaved off half of his hair right straight down to his face. Like his beard was growing on this side and his hair was going on this side, but all this other face was bald. I don't know what the fuck that is. I don't know what the fuck he was doing, but it's none of my business. It's none of my it's none of my business at all. And I think that's what we have to kind of recognize is like as long as like we said before, as long as it's not affecting your position at work, as long as it's not affecting how you do your job or how you live your life, what is it? What problem should we have with it? You know?
Right. Focus on your own garden.
Honestly, so I think we definitely want to say, guys, in the comments down below, like, please keep this conversation going. We definitely want to hear what you guys have to say about this conversation. Do you agree with what we've talked about? Do you have your own belief about where it comes from, where this internalized racism when it comes to black hair stimulates from our community?
Share your own hair journeys.
Yes. Tell us how it's affected you. Have you ever had an experience in your life where you thought, damn, is my hair this or that because of what you've heard someone say about it? So I don't know, Daquon, are we finished today?
I think we're finished.
All right, guys. Well, we will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching this video. We really appreciate it. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We really appreciate that. Also, don't forget to follow Daquon at
What? It'll be in the it'll be down.
I'll put it in the description box down below. Follow me at Quaviondre Williams or at Andre Talks a Lot on YouTube or on my Instagram. So we will see you guys next week. Thank you so much. Bye.